Welcome to our video on the groundbreaking ideas from Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. This book delves into how our minds work and reveals why we make the decisions we do. By understanding these insights, you can think more critically and make better choices in all areas of life.
That's right. Kahneman's work is a deep dive into the two systems of thinking that guide our behavior. In this video, we'll break down the key concepts and show you how to apply them in everyday life. Let's get started.
Kahneman introduces two modes of thinking, System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, intuitive, and automatic. It's the system that helps you recognize faces or react to danger without much effort. System 2 is slow, deliberate, and analytical. It's the system you use to solve a math problem or plan your future.
These systems complement each other but can also lead to biases and errors. For example, System 1 is great for quick decisions but often relies on shortcuts, while System 2, though more accurate, is mentally taxing and prone to fatigue.
Let's look at how these systems influence our thinking and how to navigate their strengths and weaknesses.
Kahneman highlights how System 1 relies on heuristics, mental shortcuts, to make quick decisions. While these shortcuts save time, they often lead to cognitive biases or systematic errors in judgment.
For instance, the availability heuristic makes us judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily examples come to mind. After watching news about plane crashes, you might overestimate the risk of flying, even though it's statistically very safe.
Another example is the anchoring effect. If you're negotiating a price and the first number mentioned is $1,000, your mind anchors on that number, even if the fair price is much lower.
To counteract these biases, engage System 2. Pause, gather data, and question your initial assumptions. Awareness is the first step to better decision-making.
Prospect theory is another cornerstone of Kahneman's work. It explains how we perceive gains and losses differently. People tend to fear losses more than they value equivalent gains, a phenomenon called loss aversion.
For example, losing $50 feels more painful than the joy of finding $50. This bias impacts decisions like investing. Many people avoid risks, even when the odds are in their favor, because the fear of loss looms larger than the potential reward.
To overcome this, reframe decisions. Instead of focusing solely on potential losses, evaluate the overall outcomes and probabilities objectively. This can help you make balanced choices in situations like negotiating or investing. The planning fallacy is another bias where we underestimate the time, costs, or risks involved in tasks. How many times have you thought a project would take a week, only to find yourself working on it for a month?
Kahneman suggests countering this by using reference points. Look at similar past projects and use that data to make more realistic predictions. This approach, called reference class forecasting, can save you from overcommitting.
It's also helpful to build in buffer time. Assume things will take longer than your initial estimate and plan accordingly. The halo effect occurs when our overall impression of someone or something influences our judgment of their specific traits. For example, if a person is likable, we might assume they're also competent, even without evidence.
This bias affects hiring, relationships, and even product reviews. To counter it, focus on objective criteria. Separate your feelings from the facts by using structured evaluations.
For example, if you're hiring, use a standardized scoring system to assess candidates rather than relying solely on first impressions. Now that we've covered the key concepts, how can we apply these insights to improve our decision-making? Let's explore three areas: work, personal finances, and relationships.
At work, be mindful of cognitive biases when making decisions. For instance, avoid the anchoring effect during negotiations by researching fair market values beforehand.
Use System 2 for critical tasks. Set aside time for deep work without distractions, allowing you to think analytically and avoid snap judgments.
In finances, loss aversion can prevent you from investing or taking calculated risks. Educate yourself on probabilities and long-term gains to build confidence in your decisions.
Similarly, use reference class forecasting to budget realistically. Look at past spending habits to predict future expenses more accurately.
In relationships, be aware of the halo effect. Avoid making assumptions about someone's abilities based solely on your overall impression of them.
Practice active listening and ask questions to understand others better. This reduces misunderstandings and strengthens connections. The key takeaway from thinking fast and slow is that understanding how your mind works empowers you to make better decisions. By recognizing when to rely on System 1 and when to engage System 2, you can navigate life more effectively.
Start small. Pick one bias or concept we discussed today and observe how it shows up in your life. With practice, you'll become more aware and intentional in your thinking.
Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts and experiences with these concepts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more content on personal growth and decision making.
See you in the next video. Stay curious and keep thinking critically.